What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Saturday, October 30th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 10-game slate tonight. I've got a bunch of awesome value plays in this video. Now that all the teams have played a bunch of games, these projected points really help find the value on the slate. So let's get into this. At the point guard position, I like Devontae Graham from the New Orleans Pelicans playing the New York Knicks, who have the 11th worst defense overall and they're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Devontae Graham has averaged 32.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 33.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.5 times value. He's 6,000 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 214.5 points scored in this game. And I like this pick because Devontae Graham has scored 43, 23, 39, and 32 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Knicks. So I like Devontae Graham here versus the New York Knicks. Okay, another point guard that I think this is a pretty awesome value play here. I like Kemba Walker from the New York Knicks playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Kemba Walker has averaged 26.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 26.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 5,300 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 214.5 points scored in this game, but I like this pick because Kemba Walker has scored 35 and 38 fantasy points in the last 2 games, so he's heating up a little bit, and he scored 34, 27, 54, 36, and 49 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Pelicans. So I like Kemba Walker here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay guys, it's time to announce the winner of our $25 weekly PayPal giveaway. And the winner is Jason Spencer. Jason Spencer, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $25 PayPal giveaway. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Mikal Bridges from the Phoenix Suns playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Mikal Bridges has averaged 28.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 28.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.7 times value. He's 5,100 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel, And Mikal Bridges has scored 48, 39, and 28 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Cavaliers. So I like Mikal Bridges here versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now I also like Gary Trent Jr. from the Toronto Raptors playing the Indiana Pacers, who have the 7th worst defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Gary Trent Jr. has averaged 27.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 27.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 6 times value. He's 4,600 DraftKings salary, 700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 215.5 points scored in this game. And Gary Trent Jr. has scored 33, 31, and 28 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 34, and 36 minutes. So I like Gary Trent Jr. here versus the Indiana Pacers. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Miami Heat, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing small forwards, but Desmond Bane has averaged 32.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 32.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 6.2 times value. He's 5,300 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel, and he scored 33, 29, and 36 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 23, and 30 minutes. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game. So I like Desmond Bane here versus the Miami Heat. Now I also like Josh Giddey from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Golden State Warriors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing small forwards, Josh Giddey has averaged 30.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 30.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 6.1 times value. He's 5,000 DraftKings salary, 900 more on FanDuel, and he scored 38, 28, and 47 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 27, and 33 minutes. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 221 points scored in this game. So I like Josh Giddey here versus the Golden State Warriors.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on.
Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Wendell Carter Jr. from the Orlando Magic playing the Detroit Pistons, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Wendell Carter Jr. has averaged 32.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He's projected at 33.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.8 times value. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. Now Vegas only thinks there's going to be 206.5 points scored in this game, so it's a low-scoring game, and it's a back-to-back for Wendell Carter Jr., but he has scored 38 and 40 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 33 and 32 minutes. So I like Wendell Carter Jr. here versus the Detroit Pistons. Now I also like John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Philadelphia 76ers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing power forwards. John Collins has averaged 37.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 37.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.7 times value. He's 6,600 DraftKings salary, 100 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 218.5 points scored in this game. And John Collins has scored 48, 38, and 38 fantasy points in the last 3 games. And he played 38 minutes last game. It's not a back-to-back, so I think this is a good spot for John Collins. So I like John Collins here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Julius Randle from the New York Knicks playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the 12th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing centers. Julius Randle has averaged 53.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 37 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He's projected at 53.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.5 times value. He's 9,800 DraftKings salary, 100 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 214.5 points scored in this game. And he scored 48, 42, and 68 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 36, and 38 minutes. And he scored 65 and 50 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Pelicans. So I like Julius Randle here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Now I also like Rudy Gobert, consistently underpriced and seems to consistently perform. So I like Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz playing the Chicago Bulls, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing centers. Rudy Gobert has averaged 44 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 45.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,200 DraftKings salary, same price on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 218 points scored in this game. And Rudy Gobert has scored 41, 56, 39, 51, and 52 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Bulls. So I like Rudy Gobert here versus the Chicago Bulls.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.